Hello, my name is Max Holsworth, and I'd like to start with a question. Is your cell phone within arm's reach right now? The answer to that question is most likely yes. Because whether we like it or not, cell phones have become a major part in our everyday lives. And you cannot argue that they do make our everyday lives easier. But the thing is, do these cell phones actually have a place in school? Should they be embraced or banned in a school setting? And that's what we're going to discuss today. I, for one, believe they should be banned. And the reasons behind this is starting with one that cell phones are a multi-purposeful tool, meaning that the teacher could have intended for the cell phones to be used one way, but they're used in an entirely different way by the students. And that doesn't just mean they've accomplished the goal that they were trying to accomplish in a different way. That means they are actually doing something completely different than what the teacher had prompted them to do. Something that is actually harming their education at that point. So, using a multi-purpose tool versus a single-purpose tool, for example, pen and paper, using this to replace pen and paper is going to do more harm than good. Because you could use a notes app and you could take notes on your phone, but from the teacher's standpoint, taking notes looks exactly the same as texting your friend in the back. So at any point, the student could stop taking notes and use this tool for another purpose, versus pen and paper. If the student stops writing for an extended period of time, the teacher can notice that and actually step in to make sure that student is getting value in his or her classroom, which is very important. You should always be getting value in a classroom. Now, that leads into the next point, that cell phones are indeed a major distraction. That the fact that they're such distraction, they would actually do more harm than good at school. Cell phones nowadays are basically personalized entertainment devices. With all the different social media platforms there are out there, it's almost impossible to not be interested in what is happening on your cell phone. So Jeffrey Kosnikoff actually did a research where he gave a lecture to 3 different groups. Group 1 was not allowed to use their cell phones at all. Group 2 was allowed to use their cell phones during the lecture, but only could text and, research topics actually pertaining to what the lecture was about. And Group 3 were allowed to do whatever they wanted with their cell phones. Now, of course, when the test rolled around that was connected to this lecture he gave, the students in Groups 1 and 2 did vastly superior to the students in Group 3. And that's simply because they had strict guidelines on the cell phones that they did follow. Because this was a test. In an actual school setting, it would be very tough to get every student to use their cell phone appropriately. Because if they didn't use their cell phone appropriately, they would end up in Group 3 and not be doing very well on the test. And at the end of the day, cell phones, are you going to risk that efficiency in your classroom for a little bit of convenience? So the way to combat that would really only be to have a cell phone etiquette course. And a cell phone etiquette course would take time and resources, of course, out of the school day. And you now are setting up another class that is taking up the time of the other core subjects that are very necessary to learn in a school setting. And how impactful is this course even going to be? Because humans, by nature, if we are capable of getting away with something, if we think we're going to get away with something, we're much more likely to do that thing. It's just human nature. So, even though a teacher in this cell phone etiquette course might say it is very rude to use your cell phone, to misuse your cell phone, while a teacher is giving a lecture, that might not actually stop them. Because since they will be allowed to use their cell phones to maybe do a quick Google search, then they could use their cell phones to do any sort of number of things that are actually distracting and causing them to not pay attention to the teacher. Now, cell phones can be used for other things besides entertainment. They can actually bring pain to people. And how they do that is through cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is just as bad as bullying. A lot of bullying is verbal, and that's what cell phones are. They can verbally deliver messages, but through cell phones, through text. So it's just as impactful and just as hurtful for students. And cyberbullying is mainly done on cell phones. Because of course, cyberbullying, I would say almost 100% is done by younger adults, by students, children. And these children don't exactly have access to a laptop that they are carrying around all the time, like a college student might, or the only access they would have to the internet at home is their home computer. But now, besides the home computer, is the cell phone that they most likely have in their pocket. And cell phones cannot be restricted when it comes to cyberbullying, because touching on the idea that you don't know what a student is actually doing behind the screen, they could very well be cyberbullying someone and a teacher wouldn't know. Versus years ago, when someone was being bullied, a teacher could physically see that behavior happening between those students and could actually step in. A caring faculty member could make worlds of differences for a student in terms of bullying. But now it's going to be, with cyberbullying and cell phones, it could be next to impossible to step in and help students, because it can be very tough to come forward as a student and admit that you're being bullied. Overall, cell phones can be misused, and you don't know if they are being misused, is the running theme of this speech. So with that, with not knowing how they're being used, that is really where you're trading convenience for efficiency. Because if you're going to use these multi-purposeful tools, you don't know if they're going to be used how you intended, as an escape, or as a means to cause pain to another student. So overall, I think cell phones should be banned, and I hope you do as well. And I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you.